A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Dream Child, was released in 1989, the fifth in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Freddy Krueger was now the biggest monster in horror. Robert Englund, one of the biggest actors in horror. Each movie had become a massive hit at the box office and on VHS. The critics were liking each movie less and less, but the fans were still there. Could they repeat the success for a fifth time? We look back on the last of the franchise to be released in the 1980s. I'm joined by my very special guest, Adam Whybray, who is a film scholar and a co-presenter on the Still Scared podcast, which looks at children's horror. He's been on the podcast before, but this is the first time he's joined me to look at one of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. You are listening to Beyond the Greys and Stars. This is the mini-series Elm Street and Beyond, and in this episode we look at that fifth movie.
His mother was a God-fearing woman. His birth was an unspeakable horror.
Please don't let him do that!
His life and death have been one incredible nightmare. But now all that is going to change because Freddy wants to become a daddy. Want to make babies?
What's wrong with me? She's just a little pregnant.
Even if he has to adopt.
No! Do unborn babies dream?
When it comes to chills.
It happened while I was awake.
When it comes to screams.
The party just start.
When it comes to pure terror.
Pulled at the teeth.
No one delivers like Freddy. Better buckle up.
All right, Krueger. This time it's for keeps.
A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child.
It's a boy.
When it comes to terror, remember, Freddy knows best.
Adam, welcome. I woke you up there.
You did. I was drifting off to Sweet Dreams of Freddy.
Yeah, whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
You saved my life. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you very, yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Well, welcome back.
Hello.
We've not had you as a guest. Well, it was a month or so ago for the family.
Yeah, well, I went and gave a kidney away.
Yeah. And how are you? You're looking good.
I'm all right. Like, I'm a bit knackered, which is why I keep falling asleep. But apart from that, I'm not in any pain or something. So, guys, do it. If you've got a suitable blood type, just go and give away a kidney. You don't need both of them. And your remaining kidney grows inside you, like baby Freddy Krueger.
Yes.
It grows inside you and gives you extra power. So, yeah.
There we go. So we've just watched A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5. This is the one that everyone says is terrible. Now, you're really tired and you stayed awake for all of it.
Yeah.
So that's good, isn't it?
I enjoyed it. It's basically a banging dark fantasy film.
Yeah. And you'd watched Part 4 to research as well.
Yeah, I'd only watched 1, 2 and 3 previously, like 1 years and years back, and then 2 and 3 some time back, but yeah, not recently. But I actually liked 4 quite a lot, and I preferred 4 to 1, 2 or 3. 1 I remember watching, and I guess I probably watched it when I was a teenager, and it was when I was getting really into horror. So a bit later than some people, probably 6th form. And I was a little underwhelmed by it, if I'm absolutely honest. I still think that Wes Craven is a great ideas man, but I do think his rhythms are weird. Like, I think his filmmaking's patchy, if I'm absolutely honest. I get why he's so beloved. He's not like the consummate craftsman like John Carpenter.
No, I mean, he's, Scream, and The Nightmare on Elm Street are his biggies.
Yeah.
Which I think are up there with it's more modern horrors. And then before that, you had, which is a very ropey film, but I kind of like it, Last House on the Left.
Yeah, Last House on the Left's not so much for me, I guess.
And then, of course, there's Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah.
Which is more, I think, groundbreaking and enjoyable. Do you know what I mean? It's one of the first of those... it's like in the sticks type.
I mean, I like People Under the Stairs quite a lot because it's got this kind of children's horror vibe to it, which is my kind of thing. But tonally, his films lurch between like absurd slapstick comedy. I mean, to be fair, you could say the same with David Lynch, right? Lurch between slapstick comedy and disturbing horror very quickly. But for me, with Craven, it all feels a little bit ungainly, like a bit. I don't know. Slapshot at times, a bit clumsy. Personally, Elm Street, it's got atmospheric, it's got some, iconic scenes.
Can I just ask, did you watch People Under the Stairs because of the Twin Peaks links?
No,
two cast members.
Yeah, I mean that was probably partly it. It was one I'd wanted to watch for ages actually, and I heard about for years. And I preferred it to Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street 2, I quite liked. Because it's so homoerotic, and I found it weirdly, almost, not quite, but almost moving as like a portrait of someone struggling with their sexuality and coming out. It's a bit ropey. I do think there are stretches which are a bit dull. There's not visually, I don't think it's particularly interesting.
There's some good scenes. Like
there are some good scenes, and I like the ideas. Again, 3 I didn't like as much as I expected. I think maybe...
Hyped up.
I think it'd been hyped up, and I felt like the kind of superhero aspect didn't quite work for me. Like, I think I would have liked it more if I'd seen that one when I was younger.
Yeah.
So I was expecting, 4 and 5, they're going to be a slog. I actually really liked 4, because for me, I guess I haven't found Freddy scary since I was really little. I remember seeing an advert for Nightmare on Elm Street as a little kid, and it was on before The Watershed, and my mum actually wrote a letter to Ofcom complaining because it was on before 9 p.m. and I was such an anxious, wimpy kid. I got really scared. But realistically, I think if you're over 14, Freddy Krueger isn't that. He's pretty ridiculous, and so I don't really mind the fact that it leans into Freddy being cartoony, because I think he's always been a little bit of a ridiculous. I don't think he's as inherently, the thing with say Michael or something, or I guess Jason to a degree, is like they're this just sort of killing force, whereas Freddy's always been like a little bit more OTT with his glove and his stripy Dennis the Menace style jumper.
I think it had to get more like that, and I'm glad that they didn't keep... So there's a lot of, especially in this one, a lot of just random one-liners.
Yeah.
But I'm glad they're not repeating the one-liners from the first film all the time. There wasn't many... But imagine if he had like proper catchphrases that he said all the time.
Yeah.
I don't think that would have worked. Whereas Jason and Michael Myers, because they're silent, they just done that unstoppable... whereas with the Freddy films, I know people criticise them, they go on, but at least they tried different things. And there's a lot of... In this one especially, there's a lot going on.
There's a lot of visual spectacle, and I quite like the goofball surrealism. So in 4, as soon as I saw Freddy is resurrected by a dog pissing fire, I was like, okay, right, this is going to be kind of ridiculous. Yeah. And actually, I quite liked the giant pizza with the kids' heads in it, and the ridiculous kind of car hell world near the beginning. And I think Screaming Mad George's special effects team worked on 4. Don't know about 5.
Not sure.
But again, like the kind of ridiculous puppetry, pyrotechnics, latex, and in this one, a lot of animation.
Yeah.
Like, this is easily the most animation that's been used on one of the Elm Street films, and like almost multimedia.
Yeah.
Like you get a bit which... I mean, you compared it to the video for Take On Me by a-ha, where you actually get drawn animation. And all of that really worked for me. Like, it is a bit like watching a long music video.
Yeah.
But I was looking forward, I I guess, to the next kill or the next dream sequence, just to say, oh, what kind of ridiculous special effect are we going to get next? And
and there's a lot of it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with this. You said death scenes and dream sequences. Now, in the earlier ones, especially part 1 and 2, most of the dream sequences were a different teenager being picked off.
Yeah.
Whereas in this movie, there's only actually 3 deaths.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of dream sequences. As we just watched it, and I tend to write down the deaths as we go, so we can talk about each one. And a couple of times I wrote down in my mind that the character of Yvonne, I thought she was killed off in the swimming pool scene, but she isn't. It's a spectacular fantasy scene.
Yeah.
With stop motion, but she doesn't die. So I had to cross out deaths because it's probably not that long ago I last watched it, probably about 2 or 3 years ago. But I tend to watch these movies. I go through periods of just putting one on a night for a week or something, and your memories of it mix up. But it's nice to sit back and watch them and kind of analyse them. But they're difficult to analyse too much because they're so much fun, I think.
Yeah, and I don't think the dream sequences aren't... I think maybe in the second one, there's a bit of sort of Freudian stuff going on. In this one, I don't feel like there's any symbolism to the dream sequences. The dream sequences are an excuse for kind of goofball surrealism.
Yeah.
Like, hey, let's have some wacky, cool thing. But I do think that the ideas are wacky and cool in a way I enjoyed.
Yeah.
So the basic premise of the film... right, is that we've got Alice, played by... Lisa Wilcox. She's actually good, right?
Yeah.
She can act. I think, actually, there's something just inherently likeable about her. You said you've met
Yeah, very,
met her.
very friendly. And an actress who started off as a model. And I think, I said during it, I think her performance is really good. And she out-acts a lot of the other cast.
Yeah, definitely. And in the last film, which... people have hopefully listened to your podcast on part 4, she kind of changes across the film from being this quite shy, reserved, anxious teenager to this much more confident character, partly because she seemingly, I don't know,
lived through it, I suppose.
Well, I know, but it's also like this sort of odd idea that she's like inherited aspects of her friends who have died. Yeah, you get this in 4 that like she's taking on some of their skills and characteristics. Basically, they live through her or something. Yeah. So we pick up where the 4th one ended, maybe a few months later, with them graduating high school, and she's with the guy she got with at the end of the last film, and she's a much more kind of self-actualized, confident teenage girl. Because really just likeable, grounded, convincing performance. And she thought she got rid of Freddy in the last film, but no. Freddy has a new scheme, which we kind of discover over the course of the film, which is to kind of use her unborn child. So Alice is now pregnant from possibly... It's left a bit ambiguous. Yeah. Hopefully from her boyfriend. We don't know, or if Freddy has somehow. Maybe, I did think there was a hint of this. Yeah. It's quite odd, but Freddy, we discovered. I didn't know this, that unborn fetuses dream apparently. Yeah.
I assume they do.
I don't think the film would lie to us. It's not about science. And so Freddy is now using her unborn baby's dreams in order to kill off her friend, her new friendship group. And so Alice once again has to defeat Freddy. So the new friendship group are fine. They're all slightly annoying, but in the way that teenagers often are.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta admit, I found Mark annoying.
Yes.
He's the nerdy cartoon drawing comic book fan. Now, he's the character I should probably relate to the most.
Yeah, you did point out that his room looks quite a lot like your room.
My flat. Yeah, it's comic books everywhere. And but I'm not one for... Yeah, obviously I'm doing these podcasts to talk about these sequels in a more positive way because I think they're all very underrated. Yeah. But I have to say the actor who played Mark... Joe Seeley, I don't think it's that good a performance. No. He almost feels... He's playing this nerd character, but he almost acts like a stoner. Yes,
I think he's not quite got the right...
Yeah.
I mean, one thing I like is the fact that you've got these kind of nerd characters, these jock characters. I mean, in part 4, you've got a black nerd girl, which is cool. And you actually got them hanging out. And I think that's kind of unusual for American 80s teen films, that instead of like pitching the nerds against the jocks, you've got these sort of inclusive friendship groups, which is quite sweet.
Which the only thing it reminds me of, really, in the movies, there would be, in say, you get it in the Breakfast Club, but they're pushed together.
Oh, they have to come together.
And they have to, but other than that, TV, you have Saved by the Bell, which are more example. You have got the nerd, you have got the jock, you have got the kid who thinks he's cool. So maybe it sort of saw the popularity of something like that, which is obviously aimed at younger kids. But I've been saying through this whole series, I generally think, even though they're R-rated and 18 certificate films over here, they're clearly aimed at a younger audience.
Oh, they clearly are. Definitely a younger audience than, say, the Halloween or the Friday the 13th films, I think.
Yeah, they're aimed specifically at teenagers.
Yeah.
But I do think with the plot of The Parents, that older people could relate to it as well.
Yes, so, although the parents are very much...
In this one, they're barely in it.
And also, like, it does feel like it's focusing, like, Biker Grove style on teens and their problems. The parents are often kind of causing issues. Alice's father is an alcoholic, although is going to AA in this film, and is sort of...
How was it? Sobering experience?
Yes. Another mother is very pushy about her daughter and her daughter's dieting. Yes. So it definitely feels like it's trying to use sort of themes or issues that are going to be relatable to a teen audience.
I don't mention should we quickly, because there's only the 3 kills, go through, just talk quickly about each teenager and the deaths. And
sure,
stuff. Because the first one, the first death is the boyfriend Dan, who's rolled over from part 4.
Yes. And
he dies in a sort of, it's made to look like a car accident or truck accident.
Yes.
He's got this little truck thing. And this is a kill that I've heard a lot of people complain about.
So why is that?
Because, I don't know, firstly, it's Freddy in the truck with him, he takes over the truck, and then he steals a motorbike.
Yeah.
And then Freddy becomes the motorbike, doesn't he? Which I think the effects are really good.
They look great.
I've just heard people say that, I think it's too stupid. And I'm like, well, this is how the franchise
is
going.
It's dream logic. Like that, it doesn't bother me at all, really.
I like that kill. I think
it looks cool, and it's almost sort of Cronenberg-like. So his body starts, there's a wiring from the bike starts interlacing with his veins, and he kind of gets becomes a sort of half like Tetsu Iron Man. Yes. Kind of half boy, half bike.
Yeah, and then when you first see Freddy's face come out of the motorbike, it looks very Terminator.
Yeah.
But I think all these influences are deliberate. It's
it does feel like it's hoovering up the pop culture landscape, and because it is quite Cronenberg-y. It's a real moment of kind of weird technological body horror.
Yeah. So that's the first kill, which is quite gruesome, and there's a few one-liners in it. What's the main one? He just says "Don't dream and drive," which doesn't really work, but maybe
don't dream and drive.
Yeah. And it basically Freddy does the whole stitcheroonie. Basically frames it to look like he's been drink driving. Which there's in these movies there's a lot of people using alcohol to deal with trauma. With the parents, especially in the first one. But you see it in all of them, and then the dad roll over in this. So I think he uses alcohol as a device almost because of that.
That's
interesting. A lot of these characters are drinking.
Although Freddy himself doesn't seem to enjoy the drink. He's got the bottle of champagne in the truck, and he gives it a guzzle. He spits it out. He said it's a bad year.
So, he does. So that's the first kill, and that's a memorable one for me. But I remember the motorbike bit more than the truck bit. I think that.
Yeah, I think the motorbike bit is. But I like how it escalates. So the truck, it starts like the accelerator, the pedals start to twisting round his leg, and it all starts to get a bit wibbly and gloopy. But it still very much looks like the truck. And then with the motorbike, that's when it goes completely wild.
And it's one of the most extravagant deaths in the franchise up to this point.
Yeah, maybe some people have an issue with the extravagance, because I can see that it's not a scary film. It really isn't.
No.
There are moments of tension, I suppose. It's, you know, even 4 wasn't very scary, but this is even less scary.
Yeah, I mean,
it really isn't frightening. But for me, that's fine. I guess I like dark fantasy. I like weird and wonderful special effects, especially achieved through animation. Like you were saying, how much worse a lot of it would have been with CGI.
Oh,
and there's so many practical effects in this.
Yeah.
There's a great sort of horrible, fairly early on, Freddy baby puppet.
Yes. Because you see... firstly, you see how Freddy is conceived by the 100 Maniacs.
Yeah, not the most tasteful.
No, but it cuts away. It doesn't... It doesn't... You know, because as I said before, this is aimed at a younger audience. And I think that... I'm going to keep saying that because I think it's true. But I think it looks like an attack more than an
assault.
Sexual,
yeah. I do agree with that. I mean, I'm not sure if I am wholly on board with the idea that I guess they're all meant to be criminally insane, but that all of these mentally unwell people are all just terrible predators with the first opportunity. But hey, you know, I don't think anyone's watching these films for a nuanced take on mental illness somehow.
No, exactly, yeah. I mean, and with the whole mental illness thing, look at part 3. You know, there's
that's a bit more sympathetic.
Yeah, but there's the Robert Englund cameo, so to speak. One of the maniacs is him.
Or he does a good leery look, doesn't he?
He
does a leer towards the camera.
He might as well wink and go, "It's me."
Yeah.
But I spotted later on in the second death, where the Greta, the wannabe model,
is force-fed.
But when you first see the waiter, it's him without the makeup as well. But you only see his mouth.
Yeah.
And with that, she's got the mum who I suppose pre this film she'd have put her in the beauty contest and all that. And the mum's a really interesting character. She's very, I said at the time, she reminds me of something out of a Tim Burton film, like one of the neighbours in Edward Scissorhands.
This sort of very sort of high octave kind of. Is that what I mean? High octane, like this very intense sort of almost, I guess, kind of hyper feminine, but this sort of, I guess, proto Desperate Housewives kind of thing.
Yeah, I do kind of feel like she's in a different film. That's my
but
I like the character. It stands out and it's kind of funny and it's meant to be. I think
it works.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I'm sure there are enough teens who can relate to the idea of pushy parents, whether that's their mums or their dads.
Exactly. And she thought Freddy force feeds. Some great effects again.
Well, she's sort of placed in a high chair. I did think, in terms of any of this getting Freudian, this is the kind of most interesting scene because she's kind of infantilized. She's almost turned into this sort of weird baby, basically. And obviously, pregnancy is like a big theme in this film. She's sort of raised up in this sort of high chair almost. I don't think she has a bib, but Freddy's like sort of force feeding her. And he said something about you are what you eat, so he's possibly feeding her own flesh. It's really strange. Like it looks like it's sort of gelatinous flesh he's feeding her or something. There's kind of fruits and jelly or whatever, but it all looks kind of meaty. And then her cheeks really puff up. She looks a bit like the lady in the Radiator in Eraserhead or something. You know, got these really big bulbous cheeks.
But it looks really good.
Oh, it looks demented. I mean, she looked like something out of the Garbage Pail Kids or something.
But with a higher budget.
But
the prosthetics and stuff I think looks great. In that death especially.
Oh yeah, it was genuinely grotesque. I was quite impressed by how horrid it was.
And that's the thing. And I'm not sure. I did just quickly look it up, and I thought this movie went down to 15 certificate, but according to just googling, it's still an 18. Maybe part 4 is 15 now.
That's interesting. I mean, it's
not
that gory. It's grotesque. It's quite aggressively grotesque, but it's like. It's so fantastical.
Yeah.
You know, it's so divorced from any reality.
Well, this is the thing, because when the original one, and I think, you know, people are going to watch them anyway, but I mentioned this in the first podcast. I think you listened when I said about how it's gone down to a 15.
Yeah, I remember you saying
because of the deaths in dream sequences. Yeah. And in the first one, you see them die in real life because the mum walks in on the Johnny Depp one. So I kind of think that's not a right. But in this, all the over-the-top things are in dreams.
Yeah.
So maybe it is a 15 because of it's not real.
But the boundary between dream and reality is obviously quite blurry in these films. Like, it does sort of drift into the dream sequences now.
Yeah, this is, I think, a bit of a fault with the later ones because I don't think they do that too well all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like in the original one, up till probably part 3, it's obvious that they're asleep.
Yeah, I can't decide because on some level you could say it makes the films a bit more dreamlike. It makes it a bit more
and also if you
phantasmagoric.
don't know, you don't know.
Yeah. So part of me thinks that's not an issue and helps with atmosphere, but then it can get a little confusing or a bit messy. Like as you said, it is a bit odd that in the dream sequence with the first death that he gets out of his truck onto a motorbike, and then we cut back to in reality he's still in the truck and he's died in the truck, and that is a bit messy. Yeah,
I mean, there's that was a big criticism of this film as well, that it was a lot of it was, I'll say, people were confused by it and they thought a lot of it didn't make sense.
I don't know. I don't think it's an issue.
I think you've got to go with it, haven't you?
If you've got a film where about half of it's in dreams, fair enough. Like, that's the premise. So I don't really care about it.
That's the thing, isn't it?
That's fine. Dreams don't make sense. I mean, that didn't bother me.
Yeah, and also with the director, we'll talk about in a bit, it's Stephen Hopkins, who went on to do Predator 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Judgment Night, Blown Away. He'd done the Lost in Space remake.
Huh. I remember that coming out.
Yeah, that was a big film at the time. And then the horror film more recently, The Reaping, and the film that I wouldn't...
I don't like The Reaping very much.
I've seen it once and don't really remember.
But that's a good example of something using CGI not very effectively.
Yeah. And then he done from 2004 The Life and Death of Peter Sellers, which I
did like quite a lot actually. And that's interesting because that does have a certain cartoony kind of energy to it.
And I remember what I liked about that film is it doesn't, like most biopics, make the guy out to be a hero.
Oh no, he comes across the crown of a jerk.
And then he was involved with 24, directing a lot of that.
Okay.
But what he said about the film was, when he was being interviewed a few years later talking about Predator 2, that he said that he felt the film had a rush schedule and too low a budget for what they were trying to do.
Oh, it's incredibly ambitious, isn't it?
And the studio cut it to bits. So maybe a lot of it was supposed to be elaborated on more.
Yeah, a bit like Lynch's Dune, right? Where like Dune, it has great spectacle and it is a pretty cool atmospheric film, but it's incoherent. But that's because of the edit, basically.
I mean, to me, the edit in this didn't seem anywhere near as bad as that.
Oh no, it's not as bad as Dune's.
But it's 1 hour 29 minutes, and I do think that all the Nightmare films up until A New Nightmare, the New Line was like, right, 90 minutes. They need to be 90 minutes. That's what people want. In, out, kills. So I think there was supposed to be a lot more character and plot development in this film.
I suspect so.
But I still think it's watchable and enjoyable.
Oh, I really enjoyed it. What's the third death again?
The third death, that's what I was going to move on to. It's Mark, the cartoon guy.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, but there's sort of a trick death in between with Yvonne, where she's this diver, swimmer, and there's a earlier scene where they're all in the swimming pool.
And a jacuzzi.
Yeah, and you think, well, someone's going to die in here. And then there's her on her own in the swimming pool, and Freddy... Well, on the dive board, and the diving board turns into Freddy with more great special effects. Yeah, and she doesn't die because Alice actually saves her. So there's loads of special effects going on. Freddy taunting this girl as if to kill her, and then he doesn't, and then it proves to Yvonne because she's the Scully, she's the no-sayer. She's like, no, this is all ridiculous, and so that was what I mentioned before. I wrote down as I thought that was a kill. And it isn't, but a great scene. But did you recognise the actress who played Yvonne?
No.
So that's Kelly Jo Minter, who was the first Nightmare on Elm Street cast member I met at Comic-Con. And I actually met her because she was in an 80s comedy called Summer School, which I love.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen it.
I've not seen it.
It's directed by Carl Reiner.
Okay.
And it's Mark Harmon stars in it.
Yeah.
And it's basically a teen flick, and she's one of the teenagers. But there is a scene in that where the two nerdy horror fans in it do a lot of prosthetic work, and then there's bits of gore, and that's one of the reasons it's 15 over here. And there's a guy, I can't think of who it was, but some big name in special effects done this scene.
Yeah.
But anyway, she was also in The Lost Boys. She's one of the friends.
I can picture her in The Lost Boys.
Yeah, Miracle Mile, Popcorn, which is a really underrated 80s film. House Party, Mask, the Cher film. And you'll kick yourself, she's in The People Under the Stairs.
Oh my God, is she the sister?
Yeah, I think so.
Like the older sister, maybe?
She's quite a...
Yeah.
Right, so she was in a lot of movies in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
And another really friendly one. And done 3 selfies at a Comic-Con from my mate. Obviously, I paid for an autograph, so I deserved one. But no, really cool. And the way this film... She's one of the survivors. And I think... I mean, I've mentioned it was cost $8 million and made $22.1 million, which is profitable, but nothing what they had expected. Each film had a decline. Then I think for part 6, they sort of done away with these characters, whereas I'd have liked to have seen what happened to them.
True, although I can imagine. I mean, maybe it's better to just focus on different characters than just do that. Oh, we're killing Alice off at the start.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice if they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, Alice is I say, really, really good in this. Like, Wilcox is a great performer, and Alice is a likeable character.
Yeah. Well, one thing with this franchise as well I do like is, okay, so Nancy's killed off in part 3. She never comes back, whereas Heather Langenkamp does as herself in part 7. I don't know if you've seen it. Is that one you've seen?
That New Night? Yeah. I haven't actually. I've owned it. I owned it as a teenager and never got round to it. It's ridiculous.
I really recommend it.
I know a lot of people, some people like it more than Scream, don't they?
Yeah. I think for me it's more rewatchable than Scream. I'm not saying it's better.
Yeah.
Because it's not as funny as Scream.
Yeah.
But whereas a lot of franchises, like Halloween and Terminator do it, a character will get killed off here and then they just bring them back and make out... It doesn't deny any of the other
That's true,
films.
actually.
I mean, part 2
apart from the fact that Freddy's able to come back and,
Yeah, but they always do a ridiculous...
Immortal, right?
There's a ridiculous way he comes back, and they almost mock that in part 4 with the dog.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he comes back, but they don't bring back characters who've been killed off.
Sure.
Is what I mean. And that's something that I personally think, you make a sequel, it's had the rights to do it, or whatever, so it's an official sequel, so don't deny it.
Yeah.
Get some good writing and write round it, is how I'd say. And with something like Jamie Lee Curtis coming back, don't kill her off then.
Yeah.
It's that simple. She's the draw for the film. Whereas there's some great cast members in The Nightmare on Elm Street, but the draw is Robert Englund.
Yes.
You don't get, and I've said this before, you don't get plastered on any reissue of Nightmare on Elm Street featuring Johnny Depp, but you don't get featuring Lawrence Fishburne in part 3. And whereas a lot of franchises will put that to sell it, Nightmare on Elm Street doesn't need it. It doesn't need a name because it sells it on Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
So
and that last death is where you really get the kind of multimedia aspects coming in, because he's the comic book artist.
Yeah, Mark. Yeah.
And we could have Mark. It's a bit like Paper House, actually, which must have been released. What year was this?
89.
Yeah, I think around Paper House might have been that year, or it might have just come out.
Yeah.
And that obviously so it's Bernard Rose who went on to do Candyman.
Yeah.
And that has a drawn house, which then becomes a house in a dream, basically.
Yeah.
And we have the same thing here of a kind of creepy house, which I guess is like Freddy's house, and it's
the Elm Street house.
And he draws it, and then we go into it in the dream. Yeah. And then Mark really like superheroes. And you have this sort of wacky, bizarre scene where Mark becomes his own superhero.
The Phantom Prowler.
With this great costume. And then we get Super Freddy.
Yeah, because you think he's killed Freddy.
Yeah.
Well, you don't. You're supposed to think he killed Freddy. Then Freddy comes back as a Super Freddy.
Buff Freddy.
Yeah, and he says a few one-liners related to Superman that I can't remember what they are.
He says something about being better than Batman.
Yeah, faster than a speeding lunatic or something.
Something like that. Speeding maniac.
Yeah.
And he's got big broad shoulders and a lightning bolt on his chest, and Mark shoots him, but it does nothing to nothing to. And Freddy turns him into a kind of 2D cartoon version of Mark.
Yeah, which is great. That another bit that looks like the Take On Me video.
Yeah.
Which I thought was closer to the time, but Take On Me was 85, so 4 years before. But that was an iconic big video, so I can see why. For all I know, I'm not going to look it up because the director of this came from music videos first.
It looks very music video.
Yeah,
a lot of the aesthetic.
like loads of these films, and it's his first movie. So
this is a film that if you really enjoy set design and art direction over other aspects of filmmaking, you're going to enjoy.
Yeah,
and I tend to be like that. If a film brings me into an interesting world, and I kind of like how it feels. I enjoy the vibes, the atmosphere, the visuals. Then I can overlook a patchy story if I'm absolutely honest.
Yeah.
It's why I tend to get on with Junet's films as well. I know a lot of people. People like Amelie, but a lot of people I know have issues with his Alien film. It's Alien 4.
Was that Resurrection?
Yeah, a lot of people. His films, again, something like City of Lost Children, the plot is a bit all over the place and incoherent, but the set design and just the feel of the world is incredible, and that goes a long way for me. And so I think I can see that the plotting is a little bit muddly or incoherent in this film, but to be honest, I really wasn't watching it for the plot.
No, it's not about that. It's about the effects, the kills, and I can't find. I was just going to see if he'd done it.
Yeah,
it looks like he might have had something to do with the Take On Me video. That's why.
Let's hope.
That's maybe I should research before we start. But I love that kill of turning him into a
paper version.
Yeah, and it looks really good.
And then Freddy obviously tears him apart as paper.
Yeah,
rips him to pieces with his claws.
Yeah, and it looks great, and that would be another thing. What would be CGI now and wouldn't look as good?
Yeah, definitely.
It would just. I don't know. I do have issues with CGI.
I think it can be used well. I think when it's integrated, especially into a film, and you can't even tell it's CGI.
The subtlety
and I don't mind sort of digital post production, like something like Coraline, like. It's stop motion and then it's cleaned up with CGI, and that's fine,
That's the thing, because what I don't like is not that I don't like CGI, it's that I don't like obvious CGI.
Yeah, and it's weird because I don't mind obvious practical effects, like in The Thing. You're not going to watch The Thing and think that these are real.
I think you can. When it's a practical effect, you can see the time and almost the love what's gone into making it.
Maybe that's it.
And with CGI, even though there probably is still that, you just don't. And I'm going to say it again, I say this every podcast, not just the Freddy ones. CGI blood can do one. It looks rubbish.
It does.
Take a bit of time and just put some tomato sauce on it.
Yeah.
But so that's the last proper death.
I say not a death-heavy film.
No.
So I can see why some people don't like it. I mean, I guess if you're going into this. Maybe I know you said that Mario was not super keen.
Yeah, because Mario who came on the Megan episode. Yeah,
and I know that Mario really loves the Friday the 13th films.
Yeah,
and I guess with the Friday the 13th films, they're much more about the kills.
That's
right?
true.
The nasty kills, and so it makes sense to me that Mario wouldn't be so fussed by maybe 4 and 5, because. I don't think they are really about the kills that much. They're more about the dreams or the nightmares.
Yeah. And they add more to the backstory with Amanda Kruger, the mum, played by Beatrice Biapple, who hasn't done much else. She was in Stakeout and a few other films, and she's one who does the cons now a lot.
Okay.
And she's written kind of fan fiction backstory to Amanda
Kruger.
Oh. It's a book I've got to get hold of because
cool.
The guy who played... The lad in the original one's done in this part 2.
Yeah.
He's written a diary of Jessie, the character.
Yes, I saw that.
Which I've got and not read. But they've added her and then telling more of Freddy's backstory. And I think maybe people just didn't want to know the backstory. They like the mystery.
Yeah.
But I think there's some cool scenes in that. I'm glad they done it this way and not done a prequel.
Oh yeah, just
that would have been rubbish.
Integrating like some of these scenes in the mental asylum, and then having the mum kind of brought back, and we get to see Freddy's mum issues.
Yeah, I think it makes it more interesting. He's going off in a different direction, but still being Freddy.
Yeah.
I like it. And as well, they've brought in Alice's son Jacob, who's
he's a pretty good eerie kid. I think he's quite. Who plays him?
I'm not too sure of his name, but he's another one who's.
You said you've met him, and
and he's very enthusiastic.
Oh.
And just another one who loves it. Whit Hertford, who was because he was the one who was the stunt guy in Jurassic Park for the young lad.
Oh,
yeah. So I think he's down as an actor for Jurassic Park, but I'm sure he's the stunt man for the kid, or stunt kid for the kid.
Yeah.
Also in Poltergeist 2, Beaches, Mouse Hunt, done quite a lot. But I think he was a child actor.
Yeah.
So he's done a lot around that time, and and he still looks much like he does in the. And he must be
large eyes.
Yeah, I mean the film's 36 years old, so he'd be in his 40s.
Yeah, youthful looking guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I quite like this idea of the dream child, and Alice's unborn child, and Freddy kind of feeding the dream child the souls of those he kills to kind of give him powers. I think he wants him to be the next Freddy, basically, son of Freddy. It's a bit high concept and fantasy, but I think it works. And it does sort of raise a sort of slightly odd abortion subplot, I guess. Like there's this sort of question of whether Alice is going to get an abortion, and she's very against it. And I think it generally is like it's down to the mother, which is right. So I wasn't sure if it was going to get very anti-abortion, but I don't know. I think it largely seemed fine, I think. Yeah,
I think it was obviously touching on that debate.
Yeah.
But for the reasons for the abortion are a bit different to a normal.
Yeah.
But then I suppose that the characters, like the parents of Dan, they don't know about Freddy.
Oh, no,
so
I mean,
it's all...
and any child could grow up to be Freddy Krueger. Yeah. A bleak thought, but,
Yeah, that's... Oh dear, I'm never having kids.
I mean, you can really tell with the baby Freddy, he looks like Freddy, so I guess you get the warning signs very early on. If he's got sort of horrible Freddy head, he's probably a wrong one.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing I love in these films. You get a snake in an early one that looks like Robert Englund, but is well before they could just CGI a face on. And I love all that. And there is so much more to this film than the critics. I liked what I should have mentioned earlier is that it starts off with like a sort of almost sexy start.
Like it's going to be some kind of I don't know, body heat or something.
Yeah,
like a sort of erotic thriller.
Yeah, and which is very popular at the time.
Yeah.
And then you've got Alice in the shower.
Yeah,
and it starts off like it's going to be like parts 1 and 2 almost, with the just Freddy attacking different kids as it goes on, but it evolves into something else, something different, which you've still got the kills, but there's only 3 of them, and it's a fantasy film.
It is a fantasy film,
fantasy gore film.
Yes,
and there is body.
There's a bit where you made a comparison to Labyrinth. There's sort of Escher-like stair scene. You're like, Labyrinth, and it is funny to think that this is the kind of decade of dark fantasy films like Labyrinth, The Dark Crystal, Return to Oz, and there are times where it really feels like one of those films.
And also the films you just mentioned were all early to mid 80s, and this was late 80s, so it's almost like kids have grown up watching these. They're a few years older now.
Maybe actually, that's a really good point.
There's probably more thought gone into it than people realise.
Maybe that's interesting.
And and it's no Wes Craven involvement. So I think Wes Craven, he's what I call trilogy of part 1, 3, and 7 all work, but they're less fantasy. They are horror.
Yeah, he's very much a horror director.
Whereas the fact that you've had these other chapters, you get different takes and they elaborate. Yeah. And there might be people out there, well, you might be one yourself when you go on to watch the others, who prefer the non-Craven.
Well, I think so far, I say I've watched, 1 through 5 now, and I think I do prefer the non-Craven. But I don't know if I'm a big Craven fan, really.
I'll be honest. I love Craven, but he was hit and miss.
Yeah.
Still, a few of his films I've got to watch, but things like Shocker, I enjoy Shocker, but it should be a better film. And that was him trying to make another Freddy Krueger.
Okay.
I still like it, but it's not. It didn't work.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say it, but I prefer the sequel to Swamp Thing than his version.
Yeah.
It just feels a bit naff to me. I still like it, but it's not what it could be. And then he done things like, forgotten things like Vampire in Brooklyn with Eddie Murphy.
Oh, yeah.
And, he's got the 2 almost video nasties we mentioned earlier, and then the 2 franchises. And then other than that, a lot of misses.
Yeah, but it's quite different to, say, Carpenter, where he just has an incredible run up to the kind of 90s, and then obviously really tails off.
The Ward, that wasn't great.
But if you look at Carpenter, through the 70s and 80s, he's consistent.
Yeah, definitely. I feel Carpenter, he'd always have his name above it, and he was probably more involved. He was never the hired hand. Well, he was, Invisible Man, but mostly he wasn't the hired hand. Whereas Wes Craven would take work.
Maybe that's it. But
saying that, his career wasn't as all over the place as, say, Tobe Hooper.
That's true. I'd say Romero is probably also a bit inconsistent. I like Romero because he's probably more overtly political, but that is there in Craven, obviously. I know he always talked about Last House on the Left as an explicitly political film that came out of Vietnam, and so there are ideas there. I don't think Craven's without ideas, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just quite fond of 80s dark fantasy, as I said.
I do think as well that maybe when you was younger, you watched the earlier ones, you'd probably appreciate them more.
Maybe that's true, because I didn't watch them as a kid. I was a very scaredy kid. I didn't watch much sort of adult horror as a kid, full stop. I was mostly watching the Casper movie, and Nightmare Before Christmas and stuff. So
cool stuff.
Reading Goosebumps.
Yes. Have you seen I watched it recently just because I bought the special edition of Casper. But the straight-to-video sequel.
I haven't seen this. I think there are 2.
I think they're both on. The one's an animated one, possibly.
Yeah.
But the second one's worth watching.
Okay.
It stars Steve Guttenberg. Why wouldn't you want to watch it? That's, I think it's okay.
Cool.
But for me, it was a strange one because I like kids horror. But, for example, later today, it's not horror, but I suppose it could be something you could touch upon in your podcast, is Jumanji.
I thought about doing Jumanji, because Jumanji did scare. There are scenes in Jumanji that did scare me as a kid, the monkeys especially, and the hunter was quite scary.
Yeah, but that's a film I've only seen twice. I didn't go and see it when it came out in the cinema, even though I love Robin Williams and always have done. I grew up with Mork and Mindy and Popeye and stuff. I was right young age. But when that came out, I was 13.
Well, that's it.
I considered myself too old for it.
You are 3 or 4 years older than me, so maybe just that small age difference is enough.
Because that came out in 30 is 95.
Yeah,
which is a year later, or the same year as Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which I did see in the cinema.
Yeah, whereas I loved Jumanji on release.
So I'd have probably been but then if I'd have watched it, I would have liked it. Because I did I probably first watched that when I was about 20 and liked it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then I quite like the sequels as well. But anyway, we digress.
Anyway, So I think overall, I think it's fun. I think it's a fun, entertaining romp with lots of cool special effects. So I think it's worth watching.
Yeah. So I'll just go through a few facts. Most of the stuff we've mentioned before, but it was the year of 1989. It wasn't considered a huge hit, but it was the highest grossing slasher of 1989. But there probably wasn't many released. There might have been a
I guess towards the end of the boom there.
Yeah, and then it's the second lowest in the Freddy franchise. I imagine the lowest is 6.
Yeah.
But I might be wrong. It might be the remake, but I reckon it's 6. The week it was released, it was entered the charts in the US at number 3. behind The Abyss was number 2,
Okay.
which was a big film but didn't do that well. And number 1, this is great. Ron Howard's Parenthood. Have you seen that?
I don't know if I did when I was young.
Steve Martin, and that was a 15 certificate. It's probably R in America. So there's 3 R-rated movies in the top 3. But let's say it made money, and they obviously made another one afterwards. There's a review from the New York Times saying it doesn't pretend to be anything more than it is. It's a genre film that won't totally insult your intelligence or your eyes.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, and I think it's a fun movie. 5 out of 10 on IMDb.
I mean, I'm giving it 3 stars.
3 stars. So yeah, that's fair. I won't boot you off the show for that. So 5. So you've gone a bit higher. 5 out of 10 on IMDb, 30% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 2.3 on Letterboxd.
That's a bit too low. What are you going to give?
Well, the last review I gave it
5 out of 5.
Well, it's obviously a 6. No, I've given it 3.5.
Okay.
Out of 5, obviously, and I think I like it a bit more than that. But when I look at, say, I've given Part 4 stars.
Okay.
I don't think it's better
I
than Part 4.
don't think it's better than Part 4.
So I'm going to stick with my.
I don't think it's much worse.
Yeah. I'm giving it a high 3.5.
Okay, cool.
So at this point of the franchise, I do think it's the weakest.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's bad. I think it's with a lot of these films, not just the Freddy films, but horror films, sequels, I think we go in with expectations, and if it doesn't meet what we think it's going to be, this is why I think a lot of people don't like the Star Wars sequels, because they want it to be something else, and the writers do their own thing.
Yeah.
And I think that when you go back to it, knowing what happens, you can enjoy it more.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Much like, no spoilers, but I want to rewatch Weapons, because that film is different to what
I really loved Weapons, but I could see why it got varying reviews of why some people didn't like it, because it does deliberately wrong-foot the audience.
Yeah, and that's I thought when I first saw it I preferred Barbarian, but the more I think about it, I think I prefer Weapons.
I think Weapons is Barbarian's really interesting, but I think Weapons is a smarter film.
Yeah, so but yeah, we'll probably leave it there.
Yeah.
But are you intrigued to watch more of the Freddy films?
I definitely want to watch New Nightmare, at the very least.
Yeah.
Like, I am going to watch New Nightmare. I've never watched the remake because I know it was that period of kind of gritty, dark horror remakes, which
it's. But I am going to do an episode on that, and we're going to try to be as positive as possible.
But
I would say I do recommend Part 6, which will be obviously the next episode on here, because it's weirdly so 90s. It's the director of Tank Girl, and there's a weird it goes into cartoons. They go into video games.
That might have me interested.
Fun 90 minutes, and obviously that's when they kill him off. And in that world, he's still dead. When you think about it. Yeah. And I love that the last Freddy film, 91, he's dead forever. Then they bring him back like 4 years later differently because people wanted it, So yeah, thank you for joining me.
Thanks.
And your podcast.
Yes,
give us a quick mention.
Still Scared. So talking children's horror. I think it's best listened to on Podigy, which is where we upload it to, but it is on iTunes or wherever. It's Apple Music. I always think of it as iTunes.
It's on Apple. I listen on Spotify.
Okay.
So
and yeah, if you like children's horror, so if you are into films like Paper House, but also like dark fantasy films, we've covered The Dark Crystal, for instance, and we do a lot of books as well. The one we're recording soon is on Robert Swindells, who's an author I liked as a kid. He did a book called Brother and the Land, Stone Cold, which is a nasty book, Stone Cold. Like it, I think won the Carnegie the year it came out, so something like 95, and it's basically a thriller about a serial killer murdering homeless teenagers.
Lovely.
Yeah. So yeah, we're doing that next episode. But yeah, we kind of cover basically anything children's horror, whether it's films, books, occasionally video games even.
Oh, cool.
I have definitely insisted on talking about Five Nights at Freddy's before.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I recommend strongly. I've listened to quite a few now.
Yeah.
The Who Framed Roger Rabbit episode.
Oh, thanks.
Which made me upgrade from my DVD to Blu-ray.
Nice. It is a great film.
So Adam, thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks, Andy. Cheers.
Hopefully we'll get you back soon.
Bye.
honestly, a huge thanks to Adam. Thanks for you guys for listening. Do like, share, rate. Those 5-star ratings do really help. Comments help as well. Let's talk about Freddy Krueger. I'll be back. My name's Andy, by the way, Andy Martin. You can find me on Instagram and Blue Sky, as well as the Beyond Graves and Stars is everywhere. So just type it in and you will find us. You must have found us already because you're listening. But join us next. It'll be released next week, where I look at Freddy's Dead, the 6th and final part of the original Nightmare on Elm Street movies. But there will be episodes after that on New Nightmare, Wes Craven's New Nightmare from 1994, Freddy vs. Jason from 2003, and the ill-fated reboot without Robert Englund, which came out, I believe, 2010. And been finishing off there. We're over halfway now. I hope you've enjoyed it, as I say. And I'll be joined for part 6 by Victoria from the Criminal Crack podcast, which is a podcast I thoroughly recommend if you're into true crime. Even if you're not, it's entertaining. I recommend that thoroughly. Join us next week for another look at the Freddy Krueger movies.
I'm Jem.
And I'm Victoria.
And we are childhood best friends with a true crime podcast called
The Criminal Crack. During each episode, one of us presents a true crime case to the other.
And the listener has no idea what the case will be.
So every reaction, question and twisted theory you hear is genuine and off the cuff.
So join us fortnightly on the platform of your choice.
And find us on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok by searching at The Criminal Crack.
Bye-bye.
Keep on trucking.